Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee for January 16th, 2024. It's nice to see so many people in the gallery today. I just want to remind you to turn your cell phones off if you have your cell phones, and we'll get started. Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. We have quorum, which we need a minimum of 3. So Councillor Blackburn and Councillor Purdy, Vice Chair. We'll start with the approval of the minutes from December 14th, 2023. Do I have someone to move that? Yep. Second. All those in all those in favor? Aye. All right. Those pass. Approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Madam Clerk, are there any additions or deletions today?
There's no additions or deletions from the clerk's office.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the order of business? All right, Councillor Blackburn, seconded by Councillor Purdy. Thank you, that passes. Business arising out of the minutes, we have none. Call for the declaration of conflict of interests. Let's see, is there a committee member that wishes to declare a conflict of interest today? No, we're all good. Well, that's good, because if you did have a conflict of interest, we would not have quorum, and then we'd be in a quandary. Okay, 6, motions of reconsideration, there are none. Motions of rescission, none. Consideration of deferred business, none. Notices of tabled matters, none. 10, correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Madam Clerk.
Correspondence was received for item 10.3.1 and 13.11, and no petitions were received from the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. Well, then that moves us on to presentations, but I'm just wondering if we should have we should have caught this with the order of business, if we should move public participation up, because I know we have a number of people signed up to speak, and I guess we can do that, well, we could do that after the presentation, but then we'll have to have the discussion and the motion. So I think we should we move the public participation up? Sorry for throwing this. Is that, what do we need to do that? Do we need to go back and unwind something? No? Do we need a motion?
The presentation referred to is just the Centennial Pool presentation now? It's not this stuff.
This presentation is, oh wait, yes, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, actually, I was misreading this. I know that there's a presentation from staff. The presentation that's next on the list is actually the presentation from the community, from Trevor Brumwell. So we will actually, I'm going to unwind my unwinding and say that we continue on with presentations. And with that, I would like to invite Trevor Brumwell from the Save Centennial Pool Committee to present. Trevor, if you could come up to the front here and take a seat at one of those microphones. You'll have 10 minutes for your presentation. And Katie here, the legislative assistant, will hold up signs to let you know when your presentation time is coming to an end. I just ask that when your presentation is over, just please remain in case any members of CPED have some questions for you. You all good?
I'm all good, thank you.
All right, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and councillors. I am Trevor Brumwell, and I am presenting on behalf of the Save Centennial Pool Committee. Our committee was formed in response to a motion by Councillor Waymason asking for a staff report that presents a plan to dispose of Centennial Pool in order to build a new 50-meter pool, competitive pool, off of the peninsula and to rebuild the Needham Community Center pool. The motion references the long-term aquatic strategy of 2019, which concluded that HRM does not have enough aquatic facilities to meet the interest and the demand. However, the motion does not consider Centennial's value as a public asset, centrally located on the peninsula. It is essential for our recreational swimmers, but it is critical for our teams to train. The motion does not consider Centennial's swimming legacy, which includes national and world record holders and Olympic medal winners. The notion that Centennial Pool is at the end of its life is false. HRM has invested in Centennial. It is in good condition after a history of renovations and recent refurbishments. It is important to note that the long-term aquatic strategy has Centennial Pool in the top category of HRM's Facility Condition Index. The motion is clearly one-sided, and it is designed to produce the outcome sought by Councillor Mason. That's the disposal of Centennial Pool. It does not consider any other options for the future of this facility, which is one of only two 50-meter pools in HRM. The motion was tabled with little, if any, meaningful public engagement. Our committee has been actively gathering information and engaging with the Centennial Pool community. The profound effect of the loss of Centennial is evident in the testimonials and the impact statements provided in our supporting documents. Our petition to save Centennial Pool has already over 1,200 signatures. As HRM councillors, you are in an enviable position as you are able to shape the future of our city. Can you imagine an enhanced Centennial Pool with additional public and recreational community spaces, perhaps integrated with the new Mi'kmaq Friendship Center and connecting to the redeveloped Cogswell area? This would create an urban park that extends from the waterfront to the Halifax Common. We could all be proud of such a legacy. Now, why, as councillors, would you choose to save Centennial Pool? Well, for the following reasons. Number one, the economic impact. The current and future economic value of Centennial Pool to the swimming community and the general public is tremendous. It is short-sighted to sell Centennial. The loss of economic potential far exceeds the $10 million surplus that Councillor Mason expects to realize from the sale. The anticipated usage and demand for the pool justifies as keeping it as a public resource. Selling Centennial Pool property would ignore the long-term interests of the public. HRM is in financial crisis. All efforts must be made to maintain the existing recreational facilities that we have. It's important not to give in to private greed over the public need. Consider the public need for public facilities. Centennial Pool is a vital part of our public infrastructure. Former councillor Sheila Fougier put it succinctly when she said, "Stop selling off public assets. Building age is not a determination of the capacity to serve the public need." HRM's population is expected to increase by 35% by 2037. And much of this increase is going to be right here on the peninsula. It is obvious that we need additional pools going forward, not the same number of pools. The growing population has already resulted in increased use. HRM needs another 50-meter pool, but that must be in addition to keeping what we already have. Replacing Centennial with another privately owned high-rise would be a regrettable and a foreseeable mistake. Consider accessibility and affordability. Location is everything. How can it be responsible to remove a public year-round recreational facility that provides equitable access for every citizen, regardless of age, physical ability, or socioeconomic status? Members of the Canadian military swim at Centennial without cost. They have no other pool readily accessible to train and to keep them fit since the Stadacona pool closed. Visually impaired swimmers are regular organized users of Centennial. New Canadians to HRM also enjoy the benefits of Centennial Pool at no cost. Consider health and wellness. The motion does not consider the impact on community health and wellness of losing Centennial Pool. It's not just about swimming. It's about promoting healthy lifestyles, fostering social interactions, and providing an essential recreational space that contributes significantly to the quality of life in Halifax. Swimming is a cost-effective, healthy activity across one's lifetime. The World Health Organization recognizes that regular physical activity is one of the most important things that people can do for a healthy life. The potential savings to the healthcare system now and in the future cannot be ignored. Consider the heritage, the culture, and the architecture. The motion does not consider Centennial's historical and architectural significance. It was built in 1967 to commemorate Canada's 100th birthday. It represents an important part of our local and national history and stands proudly as a distinctive example of 1960s mid-century modern architecture. You know, we're not very good at recognizing and maintaining our heritage. The disappearance of this iconic landmark robs Halifax of an integral part of our cultural identity. It's plain wrong to get rid of a Canadian legacy facility that celebrates Canada's centennial. Let's consider the climate and the environment. We are in a climate crisis. Demolishing buildings adds to increased greenhouse gas and can lead to further controversies over the disposal of construction material. Recent financial investment of approximately $1 million into Centennial Pool and its history of being a well-managed facility have resulted in Centennial Pool being in its best ever condition. There are many concrete pools all over the world, including Canada and even Nova Scotia, that are older than Centennial. HRM has an obligation to ensure that it has researched the new technologies that extend the life of concrete pools by decades. Mirtha Pools is a resource for doing so, and information about it can be found in our supporting documents. Now that I have provided the reasons to save Centennial Pool, what is it that we are asking for you to do? With the support of Swim Nova Scotia, we request that HRM staff prepare a comprehensive report that explores the option of maintaining Centennial Pool. Centennial is critical for accommodating swim teams, other organized aquatic sports, and recreational users. We also ask that Council have staff examine operational business models and pursue funding from all levels of government that ensures the development of a new 50-meter pool without relying on the decommissioning of Centennial Pool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We hold applause, but thank you for your presentation. That was right on time. Are there any questions from members of CPED? I see two here. We'll start with Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I have a bit of a soft spot for Centennial. I'm there twice a week because my daughter's in the synchronized swimming program, so she practices out of there, their group. So 2 evenings a week, I'm there on pickup duty. The only thing, it's more a comment than anything else, because City Hall processes can certainly, I brought up the motion here. I can tell you from my point of view what I was taking from that motion when it came here. is mainly 1A, a process to undertake the development of a new 50-meter pool that meets Canada Games requirements for competitive swimming and diving, and B, potential disposal. This is not a done deal at all. Like, no decision has been made at this point. What will happen now is our staff will go off, they'll do a comprehensive report, and I expect, like, the options that you've outlined, like, well, what if we keep the place, will be something that will be looked at just as vigorously as, well, what if we were to go elsewhere? I think from a staff point of view, you have to do the thorough analysis, and I expect as part of it there would be some public engagement too if we are moving ahead with a major project. And you folks being organized as you are, you're very much in on the ground floor, because major projects like this, you can look around the room, they do not happen overnight. This is a multi-year, like, Centennial's not going to close next year unless something catastrophic were to happen to the building, it falls in tomorrow or something crazy. It's not going to close imminently, because this is going to take many years before we get to this point. So, you know, I thank you for your presentation. You got a strong point of view, and I expect as this moves forward, there'll be opportunities for your group to provide feedback. So thank you for coming in today and sharing. If the chair.
Yep, go ahead.
To turn this on, thank you very much for those comments, and I know that Synchro is an amazing activity. The motion, the original motion, just looked at one side, and what we're asking for today is that council consider looking at the complete, you know, not just the potential disposal of Centennial, but the possibility of maintaining it and not keeping the number of pools in the city the same, because that's what the motion would do. It would build a new 50-meter pool off of the peninsula, but we would have the same number of pools at the end of the day. The population growth, the increased demand, we need more pools. So what we're asking is to look at the option of adding a 50-meter pool and saving Centennial Pool. We've even looked at the options of building another pool on the same site. Murtha Pools, which is they're building the pool for the Paris Olympics. They have new technology that builds pools, lines them, and saves them, builds them. They're working in Ottawa, they're working in Toronto, Pointe Claire, Quebec. They refurbished an old 50-meter pool, and they built a brand new 50-meter pool. They extended the life, because municipalities across the country are losing their recreational facilities and aren't in a position to afford to keep them going. So Murtha Pools, the technology is out there to save the pools. The idea that it may leak again is, if it leaks again, there are ways to fix it. And the cost of a new pool, a brand new pool, could be anywhere to $110 to $120 million. The cost to repair Centennial again might be $1 million or $2 million. So again, we're asking council to, and I don't know how the protocols work, but to have a motion or something that looks into looking at both sides of that question, not just one side, and that's disposal.
Okay, thank you. Those are certainly comments that we can take. We have the Director of Recreation here, so all this feedback is being received, and we will look at how that might be considered. Sorry, Councillor Austin, your time is up.
I think we're more open-ended than the motion might appear.
Well, and we're all here listening. Councillor Purdy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Brumwell, for this presentation. I agree with you. I don't think the municipality should spend one dime more on another pool when we can. I mean, we should look at options for funding, absolutely, but not at the expense of a pool that is dearly loved and used and needed in the peninsula right here. There would be, what other option would there be to replace this here in this area? None. So I think your comments are very on point. And I guess my question is directed to Maggie there, and thanks for your comments too, Councillor Austin, because that gives a little I don't know what the word is, but like assurance, I guess, that it's not going to happen tomorrow. how can, because I don't trust the motion either. I mean, I know it's kind of, it does leave perhaps a way to be open-ended and to look at all options, but it does seem to favor the replacement option. So how can we put a motion today to add these different suggestions that the group here has brought to council to add to this motion, or to make sure that we're looking at all of the different options, and especially the possibility and potential of maintaining Centennial Pool and what that would look like, and possibilities of new high-tech ways of rehabilitating old pools?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor. I mean, certainly it's always a councillor's prerogative to make a motion. I would suggest, I don't want to anticipate too much what the report will come back with because it's still in process, but it is anticipated to come back fairly soon. And I would suggest that it will be a step along the way, and that's a point at which councillors can sort of interject and bring forward at that point if the staff report isn't sort of addressing what you're looking for it to address. But I think it's still, to Councillor Austin's point, it's still fairly preliminary. There are a lot of steps in this process. So I think my recommendation would be to wait for that staff report to come back. It will still only be a step along what is likely to be a long road related to a 50-meter pool.
Okay, so do you have kind of an ETA of when that's expected to come? Is it going to be this year?
It'll be, yes, definitely this year. And I would say I'll give a little bit of cushion, within a few months, I would say. Certainly. It's prepared, it's working its way through our systems now.
Okay, so we'll work on a potential motion for when this comes back, and more needs to be added. So we're not just doing it on the fly here, because I'm just not good at that at all. But absolutely would love that. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And speaking as something else that was built in 1967, I'd like to think that I still have some I still have some good left in me as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Brumwell, for coming forward today. And I must say that, I too, I've heard from constituents out District 14 out Beaverbank Way that, competitive swimming, there are very few places that competitive swimmers can improve on their skills and get to the next level. It's, we've got all kinds of places for hockey players to do that, all kinds of places for baseball players to do that, but very few for competitive swimmers. So, definitely I have heard from parents out District 14 Beaverbank Way. Although we can't, process-wise, we can't go back and change the motion that was made and passed, but I think the good news for you today is that you're in a room with all the right people. Just sitting behind you, I do believe are the two people that likely will be writing this report. And you've got the executive director of Parks and Rec who will be signing off on that. So, this is something that, we certainly do this on a fairly regular basis. A motion will be passed. It may not capture everything that we want to see in the report, but staff will gather more information on what needs to be in that report from the conversation that follows. So I think rest assured some of those answers that you will be looking for will be in this report just by virtue of the fact of we got the right people in the room right now. And certainly be interested to, find out more about this company that you've been speaking of with their technology, because that certainly sounds like a proven proven winner in other jurisdictions, other municipalities. So, hopefully staff will have a deeper dive into that company and what potentially they could do for us here in HRM. But yeah, just wanted to thank you very much for the presentation, and you've given me some hints as to what to look for in the report when it comes back. Thank you.
Yep, but please keep it to Councillor Blackwood-Byrne's points.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the Mirtha Pools, there is in your supporting documents, there is a piece from Mirtha Pools to have a look at. And just with regards to the report, it was our understanding that it was going to be coming available tomorrow and then before council on Friday. And I got that information from Bet El-Haraway, who's the chair of Swim Nova Scotia. That was proposed to be coming available tomorrow at noon, but I'm understanding now that the report is not coming out tomorrow.
Maggie, could you?
That was our original target date, so perhaps that was communicated some time ago. But
Yeah.
but we've been a bit delayed through the development, so it's not, no, it wouldn't be anticipated for sort of our next council meeting, but in the coming, I'll
Okay.
say coming weeks.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that, because I thought I was going into a weekend where we would be, as a team, gathering to write our response to that report. So that means I can take the weekend off. Yeah. Councillors, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, and enjoy your weekend. Maggie, is it coming back to CPED, or is it going to regional?
Originally, it was identified as going back to regional council, but we're actually re-looking at that based on the content of the motion. It may be advisable to have it come back through this committee, so, yeah.
Thank you. So, with that, we will move on to public participation. We've received a number of people have signed up today to participate. We'll be inviting you up to speak at the table here. We ask that you please keep your comments respectful, on topic, and directed to the chair. The clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your time is complete. So with that, we will start the public participation. When we've finished the list, I will call 3 times to see if there is anyone else in the gallery who hasn't signed up who does wish to speak. So, with that, the first 3 speakers on my list, I'll call the first 3 names, so just so you're prepared. And we have Marilyn Pincock, Tanya Dudden, and Linda Hunt. And with that, I'll invite Marilyn up to the front here. Welcome. You can just state your name and then begin.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Pidcock. Excuse me. And I am here today asking for your help regarding the potential closure of Centennial, as are the others in the back. Since I moved to Halifax in 1989, Centennial has been my pool. It's where I learned the front crawl, where I trained as a triathlete for nearly 10 years, and where I now enjoy aquasize classes 3 days a week. I am a 67-year-old. I live in the West End, and I would be very disappointed to see the Centennial Pool become just another real estate development. I firmly believe the funds HRM Council used to fix Centennial Pool's deficiencies in recent years have made the pool more useful than ever. I disagree that the pool is nearing the end of its useful life. In fact, it begs the question, why would we incur these expenses knowing it was for a pool that might be replaced elsewhere? At 55 years of age, Centennial Pool still has a large customer base and is one of the best pools in town. and I believe that would have been known when the renovations were undertaken. We have the new YMCA pool where, from my point of view, it's difficult, expensive, and time-consuming to find parking, and it's an expensive, very expensive option compared to Centennial. The population base on the peninsula, as we all know, is not shrinking and will increase by thousands of new residents based on the apartment units under construction. That alone means the need for an existing 50-meter pool will remain consistent or even be higher than ever. Needham, at just 18 meters, is small for lane swims and aquasize classes. Delplex is often at 100% capacity, as is the parking situation there. The Canada Games Centre pool is often also at capacity, and for seniors who happen to live on the peninsula, Canada Games facility poses several barriers to getting there, and of course, affordability. I'm asking you to please revisit the motion to replace Centennial Pool. We need it, and it's in the best condition it's ever been in. Of course, I support the construction of a new 50-meter super pool off the peninsula, as well as revitalization of Needham. However, more pools, not less, are needed, and for different reasons, to support our growing population. I believe, too, that once it's lost as recreational space in the heart of our city, it will never be regained. A few reasons why Centennial Pool makes sense, not just for seniors like me who live on the peninsula, but also for many residents who may not have vehicles or deep pocketbooks. Affordability. Financially, Centennial Pool works on a pay-as-you-go system for the reasonable cost of $3 per swim. There is no need for class participants or other swimmers to buy a membership, pre-register, or any other upfront costs. Accessibility. The Aquasize participants very much appreciate the efficient and safe access to the pool, right from the parking lot, the building entrance, into the locker rooms and washrooms, and to the pool deck. Everything is on one level. This is a huge advantage for people who have difficulty walking, use walkers or wheelchairs, or people who have other problems. There is even a therapeutic chairlift for those who are disabled. And the location. Physically, Centennial is located centrally on the peninsula and the downtown core, close to a number of residential neighborhoods. People walk, cycle, use public transportation, and drive to the pool. Free parking is available for those bringing their own vehicles or carpooling. HRM Council advocates for physical and mental health and its importance to its residents of all ages. From maintaining physical strength to avoiding social isolation for seniors, Centennial Pool's aquasize and lane swims improve the lives of many seniors. Well, I am speaking as one senior who cannot easily go to the Canada Games Centre or the Sackville or Dartmouth sports complexes, and I am just one of the many. Please keep Centennial Pool. We need it far more than a new luxury high-rise. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Marilyn. Next, we have Tanya Dutton.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing us to speak at this forum. My name is Tanya Dutton, and I live just north of Quinpool, so I guess that's considered the Northern Peninsula. I'd like to share with you a communication that I sent to Councillors Smith and Mason on December 31st of 2023, and it was related to the pool, and I felt like it expressed my concerns fairly clearly, so I thought I'd share that with you now. I'm writing to you today with dismay of the ongoing discussion of leveling Centennial Pool and potentially relocating the pool off peninsula. As Councillor Smith represents my riding and Councillor Mason has the land that the pool occupies, I feel it is important to reach out to both of you. I have yet to have any engagement opportunities from the city related to this issue, despite the fact that the pool is in my community and I have been a long-time user. I have a long history of using the Centennial Pool. I learned to swim here as an elementary school student, being bused in to use the facility from Fairview. As an adult, my husband and I have swam with the Masters swim team for over 20 years. I consider this facility to be a major reason why we are as healthy as we are today. We see a wide variety of community members using this space, not only teams, but individuals of all ages from all over the peninsula. My 80-year-old mom went to water aerobics for the first time in her life at Centennial Pool after my father passed. Currently, this provides an inexpensive place for recreational activities for many people who can get here by public transportation or walking from many different neighborhoods. As a physiotherapist for 32-plus years working for the public health system, it is unfathomable to me that, as we work to increase population density on the peninsula, that we would take away recreational facilities from these growing communities. We do not have adequate public transportation and roadways on and off the peninsula to be putting these recreational resources further away from the people, especially those from lower income economic situations who will be left with nothing in their neighborhood. This would include my water aerobic fitness 80-year-old mom. Walkable communities need to be that, walkable. If we are to make a dent in our community's health, we no longer can depend solely on the hospital fix-it-shop, and communities need these facilities to stay healthy and manage chronic disease. I do feel strongly that part of the municipality's mandate is to contribute to the health of its citizens through good city planning. What is the municipality's recreational plan as population density rises sharply over the next several years? Halifax Council does not have a great history of timely use of land for housing, Bloomfield School being an example of such. Due to provincial municipal malfunctions, here we sit with a dilapidated school on a large property smack dab in the middle of the peninsula, prime property for affordable housing, which is now served as an unofficial, unsafe shelter for unhoused people. How long did the Red Cross building next to Centennial Pool stay abandoned and still is not usable for the community yet? How about the old library land for affordable housing? A heritage building, yes, but not being used and currently vacant versus a well-used pool? How long has it sat idle? What other land spaces are available on the peninsula? Perhaps the previous St. Pat's land, which continues to sit vacant in the hands of a private developer, could have been a great spot for affordable housing too. So are we to understand the council, contrary to past experience, will now be able to quickly flip the land that Centennial Pool is now on and will miraculously and quickly turn it into affordable housing to help with our current crisis in when? So vacant land will sit where Centennial Pool once stood for years and years on end, with return to community use at what point? In my neighborhood, I have seen so many smaller apartment complexes plowed to the ground, only to sit vacant and flattened, owned by private developers with no plans to build for the next 4 or 5 years. So while the apartment lots were small in number, they were greater than zero, as I look at 3 of such lots from my front porch. It is disheartening to see any rental properties leveled and not replaced for years by private developers, which seems opposite to the affordable housing strategy and getting our unhoused population housed. Yet focus seems to be on leveling a well-used recreational facility, and is that the answer? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. For that, next we have Linda Hunt.
Hello, my name is Linda Hunt. Trevor asked me to come and speak for a couple minutes because I am probably one of the maybe very few people who are still using Centennial Pool. I was swimming in that pool in 1967 when it opened. So yes, I'm almost 70 years old. And I also participated, I was on Team Nova Scotia for the Canada Games that was held at Centennial Pool in 1969. I have logged hundreds of thousands of meters at Centennial Pool. As a result of the training that I've been able to do in a long course pool, I have attended national and world championships, and it's only because I was able to train in a long course pool. It does not make sense to, yes, first of all, yes, we need an Olympic-sized 50-meter pool, but it does not make sense to level an existing 50-meter pool when there are provinces who would be crying for 50-meter pools. So I definitely would like to see Centennial continue to be saved. And that's basically all I have to say. It's just so important. It's important to the community. It's important to all the competitive swimmers that are out there. I have been swimming now for master swimming now for 21 years, and I continue to swim at least 4 times a week. So, and I know there are a lot of people that would be devastated without this pool. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Next on the list, the next 3 speakers, I have Nigel Kemp, Nancy Mahoney, and Janet Stevenson. Nigel, if you can make your way to the front. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good morning, councillors. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this issue. My name is Nigel Kemp. I'm a retired Dalhousie professor from the School of Health and Human Performance. I was also Dalhousie varsity swimming coach for 28 years. When I arrived in Halifax, I was approached by the Trojan Aquatic Club, who were without a coach, would I coach? I soon decided that without age group swimmers, there would be no varsity swimmers. I had a wonderful 10 years experience coaching that team. And had many opportunities myself, including coaching Canada's Olympic team in 1976. I am a swimmer myself. I currently coach the Halifax Kronos Masters swim team and have since the year 2000. I'm a former president of Masters Swimming Canada. So over the last 52 years, I've seen enormous changes taking place at Centennial Pool. And I can provide a few, but not a comprehensive list of those changes. But for example, when I arrived here, the bulkhead was a wooden bulkhead, and it only operated on one side. It was replaced in 1975 and again in 2016. The pool originally was also a painted concrete pool and deck. That was replaced and tiled in 1975. There have been 2 renovations with regard to ventilation. The last one took place in 2000, I believe, and at the cost of around $3 million. In 2014, there were new changing accommodations built. The pool was closed for 7 months during that time. And of course, in 2020, the pool was closed for 2 years and 7 months, thanks to COVID, but also for the replacement of the filtration system and addressing leakage issues. But those all represent very significant investments in maintaining the functioning of the pool and its long-term viability. So I believe that Halifax's Centennial Project has served a great legacy and continues to. Part of that legacy, which has been somewhat alluded to, could be represented in terms of performance. The lady who preceded me was modest enough not to mention that in 2019 she won the World Masters Swimming Championships in South Korea, winning the 100-meter backstroke for the 65 to 69 age group. The team she represents has been successful at the national level. In 2019, it was 5th of 105 teams. In 2013, 2 world masters records were set long course in the Centennial Pool during a meet that the Halifax Kronos team hosted. I was fortunate enough to coach a young lady by the name of Nancy Garapik, a double Olympic gold medalist, world Olympic record holder, who certainly in the 70s precipitated some of the changes that I've alluded to. Today, Centennial Pool provides 42 hours on average a week to lane swimming and aquasizers, 48 hours a week to various groups who rent the pool for training purposes. It's already been alluded to that Centennial Pool in the city's long-term aquatic strategy noted Centennial Pool to be in the top category for the Facility Condition Index. It seems obvious to me, as it has to others who have sat in this seat this morning, that Centennial Pool should continue to function. It is needed, as is a new facility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next up, we have Nancy Mahoney. And after Nancy, we have Janet, then Jim Parson, and then Mary Spur.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Mahoney, and I'm happy to be vintage 52. I have led water aquasize classes at Centennial Pool for nearly 20 years. I began at the pool myself as a participant, and for many years I had suffered with severe sciatica. I have always found the water to be my most successful form of keeping fit and keeping my chronic pain at bay. I've had 2 successful back surgeries within that time period with obvious success. I delight in leading many toward continued good physical and mental well-being. As we age, aches and pains are common elements of the process. Once one participates in an aquasize class, a regular comment is that they are good for the rest of the day. Think about that. Not a drug, not an expensive form of physiotherapy or psychotherapy, just the movement of the body in the best medium possible, in the water, with its soothing and freeing properties, which allow joints to move. Joints which on land are limited by gravity and weight. I have witnessed firsthand the delight that participants experience being able to move, to exercise somewhat effortlessly in the water. It buoys them on a daily basis throughout a variety of physical and mental impairments. I have had over these past 20 years at least 6 medical doctors who have been participants in my classes. And this, to me, speaks to the success of water programs, not only for the aging, but for all. To quote Dr. David Imrie, a current participant, a regular participant in my class, a few medical facts backed by research. Number 1, exercise helps older adults to preserve their mental function, as it helps prevent or at least delay the onset of dementia in susceptible individuals. Number 2, because of the reduction of the weight of gravity, aquasize enables older adults, especially those with joint problems, to exercise at a much more intense and therefore more effective aerobic level. Number 3, intense aerobic exercise like aquasize helps to prevent coronary artery disease. Number 4, exercise classes preserve social functioning in the elderly. Number 5, aquasize is not just beneficial to seniors. It is an excellent exercise in pregnancy, especially during late trimester. Number 6, it is helpful for rehabilitating injuries and for those with any chronic disease. A few of my personal experiences and observations worth noting. 1, recently a woman who regularly swims wherever she can get a lane and has severe MS, comes in a walker, has decided to participate in water aquasize classes. Witnessing her joy at being able to join in, gives me tremendous personal satisfaction at having helped to make her life somewhat richer. I see in her smile, and I see it in her determination. I'll give her the weights, the simple weights, and she wants the heavier weights. Many of the exercise participants who come to this pool are seniors on fixed incomes, that has been mentioned, who truly appreciate the affordability of the pool. The costs of which I will point out are offset by the growing swim club memberships, diving clubs, synchronized swimming, and other water sports. These people come by bus in all kinds of weather, arrange drives, self-driving, and parking in the pool's parking lot. To be able to come through that door on one level, to walk in off the street, is a real bonus to those who come in walkers with canes, and even one doctor who I've witnessed was coming regularly on a striker bit, if you can imagine, lowered into the water with mechanical aids. I've recently seen him come in a wheelchair, and I don't know if it's been an improvement or just easier for him to get in the wheelchair. Given the large percentage of seniors living within the boundaries of the peninsula, and there are many, as I have mentioned, they are on fixed income, endeavoring to live their lives, the best lives. It would be devastating for them to lose this lifeline. I would hasten to guess that this pool has saved the healthcare system in Nova Scotia millions of dollars, as people have found alternate means of coping with a variety of ailments. To lose this community pool would be devastating to many on the peninsula. It's the only community pool of its size offering diving capabilities and training for the swim teams with its lane length. I have true passion for the well-being of those who attend my water aquasize classes, and I know I speak for the others who lead water aquasize classes at the pool. I would be happy to address any or all who are involved in the process of decision-making regarding the future of this pool. I have spoken to several participants regarding the possible closure, and they are fully prepared to petition and protest in large numbers, should that be necessary. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my words.
Thank you very much for coming here and sharing your words with us. Next on the list, we have Janet Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, councillors. I feel I have to give my bona fides now. I learned to swim at Centennial when I was 65. So I have only recently, well, not that recently, but have learned the fun and benefits of swimming. But I'm not here to speak about myself today. In fact, I'm reading a letter to you from the Executive Director of Swim Nova Scotia, who could not be here today. I think it's really important that any misinformation around Swim Nova Scotia's position be clear. So the letter is dated January 9th, and it says the following. I am writing on behalf of Swim Nova Scotia to express our support for the efforts of the Save Centennial Pool Committee and their invaluable work in advocating for aquatic facilities on the peninsula. Our organization stands behind their request for HRM staff to prepare a comprehensive report exploring the possibility of maintaining Centennial Pool as an aquatic facility accessible to the growing community. We believe this option is crucial for accommodating swim teams, other organized aquatic sports, and recreational users who benefit from the facility. Furthermore, we endorse and encourage HRM staff to examine operational business models and pursue funding from all levels of government. This approach aims to ensure the development of a new aquatic facility with a 50-meter pool, meeting the diverse requirements of competitive and recreational users across all levels. Importantly, we emphasize the need for such initiatives without relying on the decommissioning of Centennial Pool. As the Executive Director of SWIM Nova Scotia, I am available to address any additional questions or provide further information or on our organization's perspective. And I strongly encourage the Director of Recreation to ensure that they do speak to SWIM Nova Scotia and that their position is clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevenson. Next on the list, I have Jim Parson, and the final speaker on the list after Mr. Parson will be Mary Spur.
Thanks. My name is Jim Parsons. I'm 71 years old, and I live on the peninsula, and I swim at Centennial Pool 3 days a week, and I've been doing so for many years. I agree that Halifax needs more affordable housing, but I do not agree that Centennial Pool should be destroyed to make room for the new building site. I will comment more on other possible sites, but first I'd like to give you my take on the unique benefits of Centennial Pool. For starters, it plays a very important role in the health and well-being of a large local community, people from all walks of life and income levels. Demolishing it and building another pool off the peninsula would leave many of us without ready access to the excellent physical exercise and positive social activity that Centennial Pool offers. A couple of weeks ago, as I was walking to Centennial Pool, I saw someone I sometimes chat with at the pool in line at the Parker Street Food Bank. I'm sure they won't be traveling off the peninsula to swim if Centennial Pool closes. They couldn't afford the cost or the travel or the extra time. Children learned water safety every summer in the Swim to Survive program. Learning to swim is a beautiful gift and it lasts a lifetime. I'm speaking from personal experience. It can also save a life. Over Christmas holidays, the pool is especially lively with coaches and children taking diving lessons. That's in addition to the regular lane swimmers and aquafit participants, of course. And it has a 10-meter pool there. I think it's the only one in the Maritimes. A 10-meter diving platform, right. There are many low-income families and people who have mobility issues living within easy walking and biking distance to the pool. And Centennial's location also helps reduce the traffic on our streets, and as well as air pollution from car motors. And the pool uses solar energy. About a week ago, there were several military personnel taking what appeared to be a survival course. Military personnel share swim lanes with the rest of us every day since their pool at Satacona was closed a few years ago, or demolished, I should say. Besides the exercise, Centennial brings them together with each other and with the local community through healthy physical and social activity. And Centennial Pool conveniently switches from 2 25-meter pools to 1 50-meter pool to meet the official regulations for the various swim clubs who practice and compete there. Once public land is sold to a developer, it is lost to the citizens of Halifax forever. There are other building sites on the peninsula that were sold to developers years ago that are still left undeveloped, though they are perfectly suitable for new affordable housing. Who's to say the same thing won't happen with the sale of Centennial? In my neighborhood, for example, there's the Bloomfield School, which is still standing, though barely. You can watch amateur videos online made by people who have broken in. There are similar online videos of St. Patrick's Alexandra School site. And then there is the huge vacant lot where St. Patrick's High School once stood many years ago. All golden opportunities for new housing developments that have so far been wasted. It appears that developers are in no hurry to build affordable housing to meet the crisis that Halifax is currently experiencing. And with all due respect, why tear down a well-used facility like Centennial Pool when all these other sites are still available? And Centennial Pool is not nearing the end of its life. Trevor has already gone over this, so I won't do that. The Save Centennial Pool website provides a long list of other pools in Canada and elsewhere that are much older than Centennial and still operating very well. Centennial Pool is not only a monument commemorating Canada's 100th birthday, it also contributes in important ways to the physical and social health of the people who live here. Please keep Centennial Pool so that in another 50 years it will still stand beside the Citadel as a treasured and positive landmark in our historic city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The final speaker on our list is Mary Spur. Welcome.
I'm going to take a very different perspective and appreciated the website incredibly for all the information that was provided in terms of history and everything. I grew up in Dartmouth, and I took 10 years of swimming lessons at Shearwater because it was before there was any such thing as a sportsplex. And anyway, I have lived and worked in Peninsula Halifax for well over 20 years. And I have worked both in the public library system and also as a substitute and term teacher for 15 years with HRM. And so as a teacher, an elementary teacher, substitute and term, I traveled all over HRM. And so I've worked in such diverse schools as Creighton Park Elementary, Harborview Elementary, John McNeil, Joe Howe, close by, and Le Marchant and St. Mary's Elementary. And so one of the things that you get to find out is that even if the curriculum and the curriculum outcomes are, they're all there, looks equal, it's not. Kids have different access and opportunities, very much dependent on the stability and economic situation in their communities. So if you take a look at just the libraries, the children and so on who are at the children and the youth, and young adults, because we have so many university students, we have so many new Canadians who are settling here. I've seen that working at Central. And it's just, we should be thinking in terms of the vision, and that's where it gets kind of bogged down. The vision, you need to be able to see something bigger and brighter. It's not just about buildings, it's not just about length of time, it's not just about, well, it's been a feeding frenzy for development for the last 5 years, 7 years. I've lost track. I don't know if we'll ever get used to not having blasting done on the peninsula, but it's relentless. But there's something that is so incredibly important about having vision. One of the things that I was really excited about was seeing the design for the new Mi'kmaq Friendship Center. It's phenomenal. And then I was really interested to find out that the design team had actually built the Healing Center on College Street, which was something that I had noticed and wondered, where did that come from? Isn't that neat? That's beautiful. Sometime before, and it's like there's some innovative, beautiful stuff happening. And so if you sort of go even from the design perspective, and if you have not trained as a swimmer, and if you have never been inside of Centennial Pool, you may not be able to remotely appreciate how stunning the interior is for the pool. It has this vaulted wooden ceiling that is more reminiscent of something like the Rebecca Cohen Auditorium. And they are peers. They were built around the same time. You wouldn't know it from the outside because the outside just, it doesn't quite convey it. But the exciting thing is that with the development, the beautiful development that's going to go on with the Mi'kmaq Friendship Center, maintaining that building, having Central right there, is such an important message. It's an important vision of a way forward and of inspiration. So for instance, if you, I don't know how many of you had a chance, and I know the weather turned really bad last July, but for the NAIG competitions, North American Indigenous Games, where youth, 5,000 youth from all over, not just Canada, but even from the US and South, so came here to compete. The NAIG has only been around since 1970, but I'd never heard of it. And so here they were, and it was phenomenal, even though it was washed out. It was phenomenal, the energy. Yay, okay, it is, okay, last remark. It needs to be, don't forget that the NAIG and some of the other Mi'kmaq initiated going forward, it's needed. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, that concludes the speakers list of people who signed up ahead of time. I'll now call 3 times to see if there's anybody else in the gallery who wishes to speak. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? I see no one else who wishes to speak, so with that, we will move on. Is that good? Okay. Thank you, everyone who came out this morning to share your thoughts about Centennial Pool. We now move on to item 12, information items brought forward, none. Number 13, reports. We have a report on Lake Bannock Master Plan. So I will invite Beth Bray, if you're here, landscape architect, to come forward to provide the presentation. Thank you for joining us. I understand this is your first presentation in council chambers?
It is.
It is. Well, we're very pleased to have you here, so please go ahead.
Great.
We're listening.
So, as already been said, I'm Beth Bray, and today I'll be presenting the Lake Bannock Master Plan, and I'm with Policy and Planning. So just to give an overview of today's presentation, I'll be giving a little bit of background on the motion, how we conducted our analysis, and how those resulted in the final recommendations for the plan. So on January 8th, 2020, prior to Canoe 22, Council passed a motion to assess the need for a new master plan for Lake Bannock. This was to ensure that infrastructure surrounding the lake was adequate to host future International Canoeing Federation events. From now on, I'll be referring to International Canoe Federation as ICF. Lake Bannock is a large freshwater lake. It's located in downtown Dartmouth, and it's surrounded by residential housing, making it a beloved hub for the local community. But beyond that, it has a north to south orientation and a 1,000-meter length, which makes it an ideal paddling venue. It's renowned nationally and internationally as one of the few remaining freshwater racing venues in the world. To conduct our plan, we did an analysis of the 2 previous master plans. Both of these have recommendations for improving Lake Bannock's infrastructure for both a sporting venue and a recreational hub. The first was completed for the municipality, whereas the latter was completed for Canoe 22, and both were in preparation of previous ICF events. Our analysis also included stakeholder engagement, both with internal and external organizers that were involved with the coordination of Canoe 22. And these interviews kind of went over what went well with the event, what went wrong, and what could have been improved. From those findings, we arrived at a couple of results, and most of those had to do, we arrived at a couple of opportunities, and most of those had to do with the success of the infrastructure that had been implemented prior to previous ICF events, such as Silver's Hill. And notably, Henry Finley Park was seen as a success by the organizers itself. Originally, Birch Cove Park was supposed to house the athletes. Sorry, my lisp is coming back. Birch Cove Park was supposed to house the athletes' village, but it was relocated at the last second. This allowed para-athletes and other athletes to be housed within the same facility, and it was seen as a success by organizers and set the bar for accessibility going forward. Some constraints included the relocation of the athletes' village itself, so that wasn't originally intended, and it required a lot of coordination by staff. So in the future, there would have to be a consideration of facilities within Henry Finley Park, and that could be improved. There were also some existing accessibility challenges around the park and environmental concerns with Lake Binook itself, as well as considerations for the existing infrastructure that support ICF events. Based on these findings, the report recommends a coordination plan. So through this analysis, we found that the master plan has a lot of really good existing recommendations, some of which have been implemented and some of which have to be realized. And the coordination plan would allow these recommendations to be implemented in a cohesive and coordinated manner on municipal parkland to ensure that Lake Binook is at an adequate level to host future ICF events. An in-depth kind of overview of what the coordination plan would include is included in your analysis, in your appendices that's supplied with the report. But just looking at a brief overview, there's a number of facilities that would be improved. Park upgrades are highlighted, as well as an audit of pathways to ensure that they're an accessible slope for para-athletes, as well as improvements to water quality and infrastructure surrounding the lake. Beyond that, we found that 2 parks would require engagement sessions. These 2 parks were highlighted because the plan would see their kind of intent during these events changing, which we would want to do engagement with the community to ensure that they were in line with the community's values and goals. So the first is Birch Cove Park, and as I previously discussed, this is the former site of the Athletes Village, but year-round it's kind of viewed as a more passive recreational setting by the facility. So the coordination plan would look at returning Birch Cove Park to more of that passive recreational use that we talked about, and through implementing green infrastructure and ecological improvements to the park itself. And then Henry Finley Park would be looked at for the future site of the Athletes Village. But there are existing considerations for this site. It has a limited amount of space due to ongoing projects within the site that take up the amount of space that would be available, as well as the infrastructure upgrades that would be required for ICF events and the existing playground. So based on those findings, we have the following recommendation. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Very good. You can take a breath now. You did it. Well done. I see we have Councillor Austin on the board. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. So I'll put the motion on. It is recommended that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to prepare the coordination plan as outlined in this report and return to Regional Council with a staff report.
Seconded by Councillor Blackburn. Go ahead, Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Ms. Chair. And thank you, Beth, for all the work that has gone on in Parks and Rec. I see Nalini here as well, and Richard, so much appreciated. I guess I think I got the gist of what's recommended. Like, what is fundamentally the difference between a master plan and a coordination plan? Is it really, because we're going to do public engagement, we're going to look at all these park spaces. Is it simply almost, what's the Shakespearean rose by any other name here, right, in terms of the outcome? But because we've got these significant pieces of work, that we're going to merge them together. Is that really the guts of this?
The councillor? I would say that is kind of the nuance of the plan. A master plan might be looking at going to a more blank slate, starting from a drawing board, but this one would allow implementations around Lake Binook to happen more quickly rather than starting with a new master plan that would probably make a lot of the same recommendations. And And the nuanced approach would be, yeah, I would say that's the main difference.
Okay, I think that makes sense because we have done a lot of work around Lake Banook over the years. The other plan, it is old, but it's not so old. It's, you know, it's worth a refresh, but I think, you know, we don't necessarily need that whole master plan. So I'm happy with this approach that's recommended. I will say from my end, I think it was my original motion on this. The germ of this had come about because as in the lead up to Canoe 2022, the feedback very much from canoe kayak and the paddling world was, we've been resting on our laurels a little bit around Lake Banook in terms of a venue, because Lake Banook is, you know, is really important to the community, but it's also it's unique. It's one of these kind of, it's not just a lake, it's also a sporting venue. And all these other places around the world have been doing all these kinds of upgrades, and we haven't, and we've continued to kind of coast on past reputation. And the stark warning from the bid folks was, unless we up our game, this could be the last event of this scale we host, right? Because everything is looking a little behind compared to what is on offer at some of these other facilities that are out there. And so then we have to decide, do we still want to go after these events or not, right? As a Dartmouthian, they add a whole lot to the community. It's hard to imagine Lake Banook without them, but I mean, you know, that is the alternative choice. And so I'm happy that we seem to have engaged with these folks, so that can be captured into all this too, because it's not just the public space, it's also that venue space, and how do we make sure they work with both? Truthfully, I kind of dread the Henry Finley Park piece, because what I suspect we will hear from the public will be, because I heard it very loudly in my inbox prior to Canoe 22 when Henry Finley was closed and how long it was closed for, was a lot of dismay. Once the event happened and people saw the scale of it, a lot of folks, okay, I understand why the park had to be closed now because of the sheer amount going on here. But in the advance of that, that was the number one public complaint, was the loss of that playground. It's a very well-used playground, and it's a small space. And, you know, I'll be interested to see how that discussion goes and what options we might have, because limited space and conflicting uses is not an easy thing to resolve. Anyway, there's not really a question there, but if you have any thoughts, I'd welcome them. I'm happy with this report. And do we know when we would be starting this work in terms of, like, especially the public component? Is that a this year thing, or would it be a future year?
This year, we would be including it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers on the board here. I guess I have one question, if I may speak from the chair. You know, I think what is recognized is that this isn't just a municipal asset, that this is actually a bigger asset provincially, and I would suggest even nationally, in terms of the events that we host here that are on an international scale. I'm just wondering, in the implementation of this, are we looking at any other funding partnerships, or you know, how are we going to make this happen? You talked about the opportunity through a coordination plan to kind of accelerate some of the work that's been identified, and I'm just wondering, you know, when we look at this at budget time, you know, is that just in our budget, or are we looking at some other funding streams?
That's something that came up in the previous council meetings regarding the assessment of the master plan. And technically, traditionally, there is kind of a nuanced approach. Why do we keep saying? Approach to funding at the municipal, federal, and provincial level for Lake Banook master plan. So I think the coordination plan would consider that approach to funding and outline different strategies and focus areas for that level of funding.
Okay, great, thank you. And I've seen a lady behind you there also nodding her head, so that's great, thank you. With that, I don't see any more comments. The motion's on the floor. Question, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Thank you very much, Beth, and congratulations. First one under your belt. After the comment about the woman on Centennial Pool who's been logging hundreds of thousands of meters, you'll have to start logging your presentations at council now. Okay, next we have what are we at? 13.2, members of standing committee. We have nothing there. Motions, we have no motions. No more motions. And the last thing we have here is to go in camera. So with that, is there a motion to move in camera? Okay, that's Purdy and Blackburn and Austin. Oh. Okay, how do we ratify this right now? Okay. And we're still, tell me when we're live. We're live, excellent, okay. Welcome back to CPAD for those watching online. I'm going to ask for a motion to ratify 15.1. Councillor Purdy.
Okay. I move that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee, 1, adopt the recommendations as outlined in the private and confidential report dated January 16th, 2024, and 2, direct that the private and confidential report dated January 16, 2022 be maintained private and confidential. So moved.
That passes, and we move on to item 16, which is added items. Do we have any added items? No added items. Any notices of motion? No notices of motion. Then I will say the next meeting is February 15th, 2024. And with that, I ask for an adjournment. Adjourned. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff. Thank you, councillors. And enjoy the rest of your week.